Hello, this is my digital presentation for COM 613, and my name is Jack Wilcox. During my time at a prior employer, we had a miscommunication that led to an important face-to-face meeting. Several characteristics of this face-to-face meeting align very closely with Erving Goffman's impression management concepts, so I will use his theories to analyze this event. To recap briefly, Erving Goffman interested himself in impression management at the interpersonal level. He codified concepts of message framing, individual footing, and face management. He also theorized that the act of creating the self and managing interpersonal relationships was similar to a drama-like performance which took place on a stage in front of others. In addition to being interpersonal concepts, these same features can be applied to managers and their employees, which we will see here. Here's how the face-to-face meeting came to be. I worked in a customer service call center for a Fortune 500 company which manufactured medical devices. This was a somewhat stressful position because we were directly involved in a client's continuation of care. The data we housed and curated was crucial to the overall health of the company. Every year, the department leadership held a celebratory customer service week to say thank you for the work we did during the year. There's a little gift card here and there, maybe a catered lunch. We always appreciated the demonstration of thanks. This particular year, when Customer Service Week rolled around, we were surprised to learn that the new vice president had made a change. Customer Service Week changed from a thanks for your hard work week to a here are ways you might work to do better week. Now, there had been no negative metrics about our quality of service, so this change understandably caught the staff off guard. We interpreted this that our high quality of service wasn't valued. And I think word began to circulate about this because after a couple of days, the new vice president, we'll just call him Richard, decided to hold a face-to-face group meeting to solicit some feedback. It was this meeting that turned out to be the uh-oh moment. The meeting was called a listening session. We as staff voiced our thoughts, as did the VP, and his opinion was ultimately the one that won out. However, the important point here is that there were clear examples of Erving Goffman's concepts of framing, footing, and face. First, let's talk about Goffman's concept of framing. Framing is a way for the speaker to contextualize and situate the performance he is about to give. This is essential. It is through this frame that the audience will know more about what to expect. Is this a crisis meeting or a casual meeting, for example? Richard started off by framing the meeting itself as an important coming together. He framed this using both direct language, indirect language such as jokes, and nonverbal symbols like a casual tone. This indicated this was a safe, open place and that he cared about group cohesion. Richard then spelled out his message in more detail. Customer Service Week was not to be a celebration of your work, but a time to strive to work harder and better. As to the idea of a reward, Richard said he was glad to give out rewards for some over and above special project work, but not for regular job duties. Author Katrine Johansson said that you can measure the level of involvement in the participants by their facial expressions. At that point, I'm sure most of our facial expressions indicated how we felt. This brings us to Erving Goffman's concept of face, and we will spend some time here. Face is a person's public display of their self-image. It's an essence of their public identity. And this sense of face can be maintained, it can be lost, or it can be gained back. An action which demonstrates that the speaker does not care about the listener's feelings is a face-threatening act. When Richard told the staff it was a mistake to celebrate the normal work we did, that was a loss of face. Richard also performed some face maintenance during the meeting. He made a lot of self-deprecating jokes, through which I think he wanted to demonstrate that he had an affable personality and that he was a leader that could be trusted. Through this performance, he tried to ameliorate the message and perhaps cast himself in a more approachable light. This is face maintenance. During the meeting, I spoke up and did some face restoration. After Richard got through explaining his point of view, I raised my hand. I said very non-confrontationally, I think we completely understand your viewpoint. The conflict appears to be that this is not what we expected based on our prior years of Customer Service Week. I didn't criticize his decision directly, allowing him to save face, but I did explain our conundrum. I did not insinuate that either of us were wrong. and this allowed the department to save face. In discussing face, author Katrine Johansson outlined a concept called redressive action. A redressive action is something which, quote, counteracts the potential face damage of the face-threatening act. I think that part of the reason this meeting felt so disheartening is that Richard didn't offer any kind of redressive action. Finally, we come to Erving Goffman's concept of footing. Footing is one's actual level of sincerity about the message one is delivering. In some instances, the speaker is not the writer of the message, and the writer may not be the ultimate architect. In this case, Richard was the architect, the writer, and the speaker. So Richard was on solid footing while delivering his message. That was the meeting in its entirety. To sum up, using some of Erving Goffman's concepts, the beginning of the meeting was framed as a way to understand each other. The meeting participants each experienced face maintenance, and the speaker was on solid footing. In the end, no consensus was really reached. The department went on as it did. When talking about impression management, it's sometimes the case that one's true intention or meaning can only be discovered indirectly or after the fact. Sometimes the expression that an individual gives is not the same as the expression given off. Richard expressed that he was affable, open, and we could trust that he rewarded people for hard work. And in actual fact, he was these things. But the expression given off during this meeting was that he was not empathetic to the hurt his staff experienced. If I were to use Dr. John MacArthur's workbook to conduct an impression analysis, I would linger on this last point. This is the hiccup. This is the stumbling block that the organization which hired me would need to know about. It is absolutely Richard's prerogative as the new VP to set the stage as he sees fit. I would point out, though, that a clear opportunity to enhance impression management is simply to acknowledge the miscommunication and not fight against it. Saying, I really see your point of view, and I understand that this must feel like a letdown. I do promise you that I like to reward people for their hard work, just in different ways. This is an understanding and empathetic statement, and it costs no money. It doesn't box Richard into a corner in any way, but it acknowledges the worth of the staff today and into the future. Thank you very much for tuning in.